Okay, let's just jump right in. We're going on an incredible journey today, one that actually starts with a chilling Himalayan ghost story and ends, well, deep inside the human psyche. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring the mountains of Uttarakhand. This is a place where ancient spirits still roam, and where traditional music is far from just entertainment. We're talking about a matter of life, death, and literal mental survival.
So I want you to imagine a royal prince, right? He's murdered in cold blood over a forbidden love. But his angry spirit completely refuses to leave. Instead of just fading away into history, he becomes a deity, one that still commands absolute fear, respect, and worship to this very day. Now, I know it sounds like a movie plot, but this is the actual on-the-ground reality of folk beliefs in the Kumaon region.
And this brings us to the really tragic legend of Gangnath. Decades ago, this royal prince of Dodi falls head over heels in love with a woman named Bakana in Almora. But, as you might guess, weeks later, this forbidden romance sparks total outrage from Bakana's powerful family. It all comes to a head on the night of the Holi festival, when Gangnath is brutally betrayed and murdered by a blacksmith. But his story absolutely doesn't end there. For eternity, his wrong spirit manifests, allegedly crushing the village with failed crops and illness until he's finally appeased. And through all this, he actually transforms into Gangnath Devta, a deeply revered deity of love, justice, and divine retribution.
It's incredible because even today, you can actually hear traditional Kumoni bhajans pleading, joyful flute in hand, begging bowl at his side. Gangnath, have mercy on my mountains. This isn't just some dusty myth of the past. It's a living, breathing reality in Uttarakhand right now. People are genuinely still seeking his protection against injustice.
So let's move into part one of our explainer, Jagar and the Awakening of the Gods.
To really understand how these stories survive, we have to look at the jage. The word itself comes from the Sanskrit jaga, which literally means to awaken. It's a ceremonial practice where mediums enter these incredibly deep trance states. And their goal? To invoke dormant gods, ancestor spirits, or ghosts to seek justice and healing. You know, a jagar is definitely not your typical quiet prayer. It's an intense, highly physical awakening of the divine, happening right smack in the middle of the village square. A jagar is just pure, raw, communal energy. During these rituals, the participants, who are known as pashuas or mediums, actually become possessed. It's wild. In a state of sheer ecstasy, they might leap into fires or even lick red-hot pokers without sustaining a single injury. It really is a profound, visceral display of faith and complete psychological surrender.
But, they don't enter these trances in silence. The true heartbeat of the entire ritual is completely driven by the jagariya. That's the priest and lead singer. They use these specific traditional percussion instruments, the dol, the damau, and the hourglass-shaped hurka. They use them to build this mesmerizing, escalating rhythm that just completely envelops the audience.
Now, despite how intense all of that might look, it is not chaos. Not at all. It's actually a highly structured, three-step method for confronting the supernatural. So step one is the invocation, where the jagariya sings epic ballads and beats the drum just to summon the spirit. Then, step two is possession. This is where the medium enters a violent trance as the spirit takes over their body. And finally, step three, resolution. The spirit actually answers the family's questions, demands an offering, like maybe a goat or a bird, and is then peacefully sent back to its Himalayan dwelling, which restores balance to the whole community.
Which brings us right into part two, the body musical tradition.
There's been this really tragic shift in the social standing of these musicians over time. If you look at the past, the Bashaidi and Bayasa singers were revered as Gandharvas, these mythical musicians born to sing. People considered them direct earthly representatives of Lord Shiva himself. But fast forward to the present, and they are deeply marginalized. We're talking battling severe poverty, illness, and a really fading sense of societal respect. And behind this music, there's a very real human cost. Just take Ram Charan, for example. He's a 76-year-old traditional singer who literally spent his entire life performing these epics. But now, he's bedridden with cancer. His wife, Rajeshwari, recalls a time when their art commanded immense respect in the villages. But now, they're struggling just to survive. Meanwhile, you have the younger generation, like their 32-year-old son Manoj, who desperately hopes to open a music school, just trying to save their ancestral legacy from dying out completely.
And that leads us to part three, a heritage under serious threat.
Because the truth is, the hypnotic beats of the dole are being rapidly drowned out by modern threats. The rise of modern DJ culture at weddings and events is just entirely replacing live folk musicians. Add to that a profound lack of government support or financial patronage, and you see young people abandoning the profession altogether simply due to the stigma of poverty. Ultimately, we're seeing a heartbreaking loss of the deep spiritual connection that audiences once had with this live music. All of this has sparked a really deep generational divide within the community itself. On one hand, elders like Ram Bhakti are left heartbroken. They feel defeated, honestly feeling like their life's devotion to the tradition was in vain without government support. But on the other hand, younger musicians like Pavan firmly believe the music absolutely must evolve to survive. They want to integrate modern beats and find new stages to appeal to today's crowds. It's that classic, incredibly tough battle between pure preservation and necessary evolution.
So, let's dive into part 4, the psychology of these folk beliefs. You might be wondering, so why does all of this matter beyond just preserving a few old songs? Well, academic research from the Indian Journal of Research reveals something absolutely astonishing. These traditions, they aren't just superstition. They're actually incredibly sophisticated mechanisms for community mental health.
It's fascinating, because every single supernatural element maps perfectly to a profound psychological benefit in the real world. Think about Bhoot Jagar, summoning the dead. It actually provides emotional closure and helps process unresolved grief. Demanding a sacrifice? That offers a tangible act of emotional catharsis, giving people a real sense of control over their anxiety. The communal trance obviously fosters deep social unity and belonging. And those tales of divine retribution, exactly like our Prince Gangnath, they reassure marginalized people that ultimate justice does exist in what is often a very unfair world.
You can see exactly how targeted this is when we look at the Hentia Jagger. This is a very specific subset of the ritual designed solely to summon the souls of those who died in sudden accidents or with unfulfilled desires. When a family is just devastated by unexpected loss, this ritual steps in. It acts as a highly structured communal therapy session, giving families the exact psychological closure they desperately need to say goodbye and eventually keep living. There's this incredibly beautiful, haunting line from a traditional Nanda Jagger song that goes, "The sacred fire is not set. The world is filled with sorrow. The voice has been lost." As the old singers lament a world losing its sacred fire, we really start to realize that these rituals, these songs, and the artists themselves, they are the safety nets. They're what catches people when life just completely falls apart.
And so we really have to ask ourselves a tough question. In our massive rush toward the future, with our DJs and our smartphones, are we accidentally destroying the very tools our ancestors built to heal the human mind? When the last Jagariya finally stops singing, what happens to the psychological safety nets that once kept our communities whole?
Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.